Hello guys, I'm going to show you how to replace components on a pad pal using just one of these Victorinox classic knives, very popular amongst hikers. And this is so you get an idea of how to replace certain components if you're on the trail and you like doing something like the PCT, you're going to be hiking thousands of miles, and you know there's a possibility that the motor might fail on you while you're at some point while you're hiking, and so you're carrying a spare 2-gram motor. But in this video today, I'm just going to be replacing the board because I have a new motor control version board that I'm testing. So I'm going to be popping this board out. However, the process to get all these parts disassembled and reassembled is the same regardless of which of the components you're replacing. So to start, let's grab the pad pal. You're going to squeeze your pad adapter off, just a soft TPU, put that to the side. And the next step is to get the board off. Now we're going to do that by grabbing the file and using the non-textured side of the file, which is the flat side right here. We're going to put our thumb on the textured side, rotate this around, and you'll see a black component towards the top. It's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but on the top of that motor control board there's a small black part, and you're going to put the file on the top of that part, and then putting your thumb along this reinforced rim on the fan duct. You're going to squeeze the fan duct, and at the same time you're going to push. And you might have heard it, there was a little bit of a pop, but what happened is the motor control board popped out of its housing. So now it should be pretty easy with using just your fingers to pop it off. And there's our motor control board. We're going to go ahead and unplug that right now from the JST connector. Put that to the side as well. And then the next step is getting the fan blade off. So you're going to get the fan blade off by, once again, using the file and inserting it between the little motor housing and the fan blade, and then lifting the file up like this, and just very slowly and carefully working it up. And then towards the end, when it gets a little high, like this, the gap has grown, we're going to twist instead of push, and that will pop it off. Next up is getting the motor out. This is a little tricky because there's the potential you might break the motor to get the motor out. However, if your motor's already broken, it doesn't quite matter. Here's what you're going to do. Using the flat side, or using some sort of flat surface, may not even be this tool, it might be easier to use a stick or something. You're going to push down on the shaft just a bit, not all the way, but just a bit. And then what's happened is by pushing down the shaft, we've opened up this gap right here between the top of the motor housing and the motor. And we're going to insert the file into that gap, and we're going to work it down by twisting. And now that we can't twist anymore, we got it down pretty much, we're going to come from the other direction through the top and push down like this. And that gets the motor out. Next, we're going to take these wires out, we're going to twist. And it's a pretty tight fit, so you may have to keep doing this a little bit here and there. There we go. And there's our motor. And here's our fan blade. Now, when you replace these motors, these are just press fit little propellers. Because the press fit, sometimes they won't grab as strong as they used to, as strong as the first time you put them on. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the propeller, since we're going to be reinserting this motor. Let me just grab this propeller over here. Here we go, got a little propeller. And the first thing to do, now that we have everything apart, is to put it back together by putting the motor in. Put the pad pal down on a flat surface or a rock outside somewhere. Push down on it like so until it's flush, and then use the file to get it the rest of the way. Be very gentle, because it's possible to put too much force onto it and it slips out from underneath you and breaks the top of here. So that's just something to consider. Next, we're going to run these cables into their little cable runner. So using the file, I'm going to come down, put the cables out. There we go. And now comes the next tricky part. We're going to get this fan blade on. The reason why it's tricky is because when you try to put it on, it could often pop the motor back out. So we're going to put the file here and then hold it with our thumb. with the palm of with like your lower part of your hand, and with the upper part of your hand, your index finger and your thumb. Put your thumb over where the PCB housing is, and then your finger wrapped around the base. And then looking through the peephole right here, come on, let's get that blade back out. Looking through the peephole right here, you're going to line up the hole of the blade with the shaft, and then push down. And then check that it spins freely by blowing on it. We are all set. If it didn't spin freely, it might be because the motor is not seated in there straight, or because you've accidentally warped this little motor housing a little bit right here, and you may have to take that blade out of this knife and shave a little bit of the outer circumference or the inner circumference of the duct away. Moving on to attaching the new motor control. So here's our new motor control board that I'm going to be testing over the next week or so. But we're going to install this onto here by popping it in, and then making sure that the cable runs underneath this lip like that, and then rotating it this way. You're going to insert the motor control board like this, right? And here's a view on the back side. So you have these two little lips right here, one here and one here. You just pop it into those lips, edges or so, and then push down on the top. And then now you won't be able to push down with your thumb, or you'd have to have pretty strong hands to do it. So what I like to do is I like to, once again, with my index finger, my thumb finger, and down here, supporting the backside along this reinforced raised rim, we're going to squeeze this to add some tensile strength to the whole thing. Or compression, really, just put compression force under it. And then using the backside of the file, we're going to push down on this motor control board. And then there we go, it popped into place. Now usually the center pops into place, but you can see the edges are still raised. So you're gonna go from the left edge, popping it in, then to the right edge, popping it in. There we go. And then just double checking that everything's in. And we look good. So now your motor's in, your motor control board's in, and you can pop your duct back on. And that's how you replace the parts. Now, let's go ahead and plug it in and make sure it all works. Nice.